Welcome to our Inertia of Generosity, What Moves People to Give podcast today. I am Ashley Corbin, and I have the pleasure of talking about generosity and the science behind what generosity looks at, why those that give tend to give while non-givers often stay on the sidelines. So we are going to learn how can we move people from inaction to action, and to help unpack this, I have Alan Pratt, who's a financial advisor for over 30 years and a chartered advisor in philanthropy for 20, and a donor care specialist, Lauren Schooner, joining me today. So we're just going to dive right in and we're going to kind of look at the science behind generosity and inertia and what that exactly looks like. So, Alan, from your experience, what psychological or behavioral patterns do you see in people who give regularly versus those who don't?
Okay. Uh, Ashley, it broke up there a little bit,
Oh,
but I think I know the question. Okay.
I
Differences
can
between the ones that give and the ones that don't. Is that what I heard you say?
correct the what patterns you see on the people who give regularly versus those who don't.
Okay. Just to keep it brief, I really do think that the whole science of giving really is a function of the heart. And so when the heart is in a place where there's a cause or there's a passion for a particular um, organization, but really I would say the cause, um, the heart tends to take over. And I'm just speaking from personal experience here. So when my wife and I got engaged in the whole pattern of giving, it all became with our heart. And this is years and years and years ago. So I would say that that is really the heart. Is the heart is the issue, and when does the heart become engaged to care about a cause, to care about uh, a specific organization? And for the most part, I don't think it ever stops. It might expand, it might go into a different stream, but it doesn't really ever stop.
Your attention,
So
please.
I'll
In
leave it
the
at that.
interest of aviation security,
And
all
so
passengers must follow their
Alan is being
baggage
so
at all
generous to
times.
help us even at the airport today.
Using
So
empty your baggage.
what
Cannot leave your bags or packages
what
unattended.
I heard you say is that the people who start to give tend to keep on giving because of that emotional connection, and that habit starts to form, and so they keep on in that pattern. Lauren, looking at your field,
Mhm.
what are some common reasons that people hesitate to give even when they care about a cause?
I really am going to several families that I serve right now and thinking through that sometimes it can just be overwhelming because there are so many amazing nonprofits, ministries, charities out there that are typically, a lot of them may be trying to help a particular cause, and there might be a lot. And so I think that it's a matter of having the time to be able to do the research. Some
Mm,
folks really care about the financial side. How much is going towards advertising versus how much is going towards administrative costs versus how much is going towards the actual cause that they're trying or
mm,
the thing that they're trying to help or being able to just, connecting those dots, the relationship, the time it takes to build a relationship. So I would say there's a couple areas that tend to lead towards that hesitation. It can also just be like for my family and I personally, I've been in the generosity space for close to 11 years, and so I'm deep into it. However, I didn't grow up with missionaries or anyone in my family that we were consistently giving to, and so I think it can also be just how you were brought up and also just who you've been around and being able to just understand generosity, what it really means, how to live out that through the eyes of Jesus. So I think it can
mm.
be a couple different factors.
That is really good. I like how you touched on like kind of their fear of financial instability within the organization that they're
Mhm.
looking at. And that's I really like that. So it keeps them kind of at rest instead of moving forward. All right, Alan, looking at you again. If we think of generosity like inertia, what external forces, whether it be psychology, social, or economic, help move that non-giver into action?
Whew. Um, the external forces, I would probably just say that, again, coming back to my first answer around causes that people care for, and there's so many good causes there. So, um, my sidebar would be there's no right or wrong. It's everybody's individually wired for causes that they care about and maybe causes that they're nonchalant about. But that's just them. Okay, that's the uniqueness of the giver. So when it comes around to external sources, I would probably say that as things are happening in a 501c3 or a specific charity or two or three that are unique, that are maybe a pattern of the times, that are tied into that cause, one tends to get excited. And again, I just think about with my wife and I, where we're passionate about certain causes and we hear a news story or we have an actual experience with some people that are engaged in that cause, i.e. going to Israel or whatever the case might be. Our enthusiasm and our spirit for generosity even increases out of excitement of what we just experienced or what we just heard in the news or what we heard in our local, I won't say newspaper. Newspapers are old, but our news source that tied into our cause that raises our desire to want to do more.
Oh, okay. I love that social proof, having that compelling story or a personal connection to the cause that you have there. All right, Lauren, have you seen a specific strategy or moment that transformed a first-time donor into a lifelong giver?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And I would say I can't for sure pinpoint, one donor that I've seen completely transform. However, I think that in this space, if a donor or family has a service like what the Signatory and other donor advised fund sponsors are providing, I think that it's just a way for them to ease into, being charitable, being generous and having a resource that can do the research, do the vetting, kind of going back to that first question of feeling confident in the organizations that they are choosing to support. And so the one thing that I have seen that has helped increase someone's confidence in being generous and giving is like those again those personal relationships with someone at the organization or like Alan stated, being able to actually see tangible things that are changing by way of them supporting. So I think, yeah, just being able to kind of see the proof in the pudding, being able to see, hey, my giving is making an impact, and being able to feel that and hear the stories. And so I've definitely seen many of our donors increase their support to charities when they feel that connection, when they're feeling like they're able to hear back, or just grasp what projects are currently happening, things like that, that they can actually see and know that the impact is real.
That's so good. All right, I got one last question for each of you to wrap this up. Alan, this one's for you. How can businesses and nonprofits create momentum that keeps donors engaged and giving?
Oh boy, that's a good one. The initial thing that comes to my mind is businesses, number one, they can provide a pattern, a structure for their employees, and I won't say for their customers, but particularly for their employees to get engaged in the process by offering up matching programs, et cetera.
That's it.
So it encourages those that maybe might not have thought about it as much before, but because there's a matching program, it will incent them to get
Mhm.
involved. Okay,
That's so good.
that's the immediate. I mean, I came from Seattle, and Microsoft has a phenomenal matching program,
Mhm.
absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so there's a lot of people that have the opportunity out there to engage in the process of generosity
Mm,
because they're encouraged to do so from their employer.
yes.
Now, what was the second part of your question? I might have
It
missed.
keeps donors engaged and
Gotcha. Okay.
giving. Yeah.
And
It's a-
it's like for me, and I think for many others, it's a habit, but it's a habit of joy. It's not a habit of drudgery. Okay,
yeah,
and
that's so
so
good.
when one starts in that pattern, and starts to see um, things change, the culture changing, the cause affecting people in a wonderful way, it gets exciting to be able to do more and more and more. And those are patterns that just kind of grow the whole process of generosity
Mm,
that that affects the heart of the person, the family, the couple in a real positive way over years and years.
yeah.
That's how I
I love that you emphasized how the business can make generosity very easy and habitual for their employees and give that reoccurring giving model. They set that standard. That's awesome. All right, Lauren, your final question.
Yes.
What's one simple, actionable step organizations can take today to overcome that donor inertia, kind of?
Yep, I'm going back to the same things I've said of just really trying to build relationships,
Mm,
just trying to get to know your donors better, understand kind of where they are coming from. Again, kind of I mentioned growing up, did they grow up around giving? Were
mm,
their were their parents or other family members generous in certain ways and maybe leaning into what they've learned? And if they weren't, then being able to look at, do we want to go ahead and start a new way of having the family,
mm,
be generous, whether it's time, finances, things like
yeah.
that. But I definitely always go back to the experiences. I have a really sweet donor couple who is insanely generous. They come in to the office and will have me enter their grant recommendations. And sometimes they are very off the cuff. Some of them are planned, but they just look at what is the need in our community.
Mm,
So again, they're being made aware that there is a
that's great.
need, what the action steps are, what projects are out there that that organization is
Mhm.
doing. And they have been invited to actually have more of a personal connection with the organization. So like, hey,
Mm,
come see what we're doing here. Come meet with the director of development or whatnot. And not just to ask for funding, but really to understand the heart of the charity or ministry. And just, I think, being genuine, just really being genuine in the
that's so good.
ask, being transparent, and not, I know fundraising can be extremely difficult, but when you believe in your cause and you know that it's actually
Mhm.
helping people, I think you can be confident in those conversations and meetings, and instead of, necessarily trying to cast a wide net, instead looking at casting a smaller
Yes.
net, and getting those families to even connect as a whole, to see how they can solve the problem.
I love that. I love that. Like the story you uses impact that they're in the community,
Yeah.
and also taking that social influence of like what is
Mm.
needed. That's so
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Well, we've learned that generosity, like motion, tends to stay in motion, and people need those external forces to
Mhm.
get started sometimes, whether it's that social influence, the storytelling, or a personal connection. There are always ways to break through the inertia of inaction. Thank you so much, Alan and Lauren, for sharing your insights and giving me some times. And if you are listening out there and you're wondering how to take that start and take that one small step to give, engage, or even just share to a cause you care about, please listen to this, take some notes, and I hope that your generosity can be contagious.